When you love someone, you've got to trust them. There's no other way. You've got to give them the key to everything that's yours. Otherwise, what's the point? And for a while, I believed that's the kind of love I had.
You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Oh, yeah? Huh? Okay.
I don't know who's weirder, you or me.
Come on, Mickey, come on. You remember the trees? Remember them? The mountains?
You do what you want. You want to be a diplomat, that's your business. Me? I'm a gangster. Hey, listen, I swear to my mother, you come with me next Tuesday. I signed the paycheck over to you, Charlie. I swear to my mother, swear to Christ, okay? Come on, you come, it's $110, you give it to Mike. Come on.
I buddy up with a guy one night, he maybe kills somebody the next night. It comes out I got drunk with the shooter, I got his girl in my house. Let me tell you, that is involved.
I swear to God, I don't know what the hell you're talking
Whatever.
about.
Don't you dare disrespect your grandparents. Do you hear me? And you're wrong. They tried to give me a better life, and that's what I'm trying to do. What better life?
Some do things right, most do bad. So don't be simple.
Oh, sure I won't.
Don't make small trouble about nothing. You're gonna make trouble, make it big. Get a big payoff for that, you hear?
The fuck, you got nothing. Not a lot of talking up there. You hear? Because you got nothing. You got nothing in court. You don't got the bookkeeper. You got nothing.
You fuck my wife.
How could you ask me? I'm your brother.
Just tell me.
Amir, don't say one fucking word, okay?
Okay, Lewis.
There's your fucking pillow.
Feel better?
Yeah, I do. Give me a hand. For good luck.
Good luck.
Oh, that's very funny.
What have you been doing all these years?
You're going to bed early. I am never going back.
Then don't take down scores.
I do what I do best. I take scores. You do what you do best, trying to stop guys like me.
remercier Tiffany, l'épouse de Robert De Niro, également d'être ici et d'illuminer elle aussi de sa présence le séjour de Robert De Niro, et qu'on ait tous ensemble d'ailleurs une pensée. Il est à New York, il travaille pour Martin Scorsese, qui était également ici sur cette scène, mais pour l'instant celui que nous avons là, c'est Robert De Niro avec JR. Messieurs, be good.
We'll try. Merci Thierry. I think there's some. Ah, yeah, why not? Well, we might continue in French if that's okay for you. I heard last night Leo DiCaprio was saying that you're someone who doesn't say hello, but that you count every word that you say. And I remember you saying hello from time to time.
When was this?
During his speech last night at the opening ceremony. And Leo was like, you're someone who doesn't necessarily say hello, but that when you speak, every word counts, and you're very careful about every word you say.
Sometimes.
So I just want to start saying, because also in that opening speech, Leonardo said how much his life has changed when he met you. And for the people who's here, I want to explain also how I ended up being here today speaking with Mr. De Niro. Is when I was 27, I moved to New York, and I was very lucky to meet Bob at an occasion through Jane Rosenthal, his partner at Tribeca Film Festival. And so when I met him, I thought I'll see him once and that would be it. And we stayed in touch, and somehow he took me under his wing in the last 15 years now. He took me in a lot of incredible places, on movie sets, in worlds that I had no idea about, and to a reason I can't explain still today. And that's something that, I don't know if there'll ever be an answer to that, but I'm very grateful. And the reason why we're also here today is because 3 years ago, he took me to his father's studio, who was a painter, and I think we have an image that we can show here of the paintings that he was doing. And something have changed at that moment when you took me. And you were ready to you kept your father's studio intact since he passed away, now more than 30 years ago. Now it's probably 35 or 40 years ago he passed away. And you kept it intact, like literally every single thing in your father's studio is there, the cigarette, the clothes, the paintings. Do you recall why you did that at the time of deciding to keep it frozen in time?
Well, I just wanted to keep everything as long as I could because I wanted my kids, of course, my older kids were aware of who their grandfather was, but I wanted my younger kids and other family members, cousins, second cousins, so especially the immediate family children to see what their grandfather, his legacy was, and how important it was to me and for them, to them. And so I preserved it, just kept it like that. And I thought at one point I would videotape, take pictures of the whole studio. I did all that, but then I decided to hold on to it as long as I could. So that's what I've done. But it was for them, so that they see, in a real sense, in being in his space, what he did.
You're someone who likes to keep things. You kept your father's studio and all his art. I know when you work on a character or when you work for a film, you often keep the artifacts of the film, the clothes, the watch, every single detail. Why is that so important to you?
Well, you mean in working on a part or something?
Two things. One is as building the character, and the second part as why do you keep them after that?
Oh, well, why? It's because I found as I was working on films that sometimes, way years ago, that the props or the clothes would get sort of dispersed, or some people would take things for souvenirs. And I wanted to hold on to that stuff and keep it as part of the film. So I keep my wardrobe props and stuff like that, and copies of my scripts and so on, just for posterity, if you will. And finally, it got so big and unwieldy that I had to find my assistant at the time looked around for places that we would want it, and so the University of Texas took it. So the Harry Ransom Center.
I don't know if we can look at an image that I've just put a few images just for you guys to understand what we're actually working on. 3 years ago, when we walked in that studio, and all we were supposed to do was a little exhibition was organized in New York about his father, and I told him, I would like to film you in your father's studio, maybe just 20 minutes, just so that people would have an idea. And this is maybe just for social media, it's just for the younger generation to get to know about your father, who was also called Robert De Niro. And he said, okay, I'll come. And Roberto De Angelis, who's here, who was holding the camera that day, was, we were just us in the room. And 3 days before he came, he said, well, have you read my father's journals? And I told you, I had never read your father's journals. I had no idea he wrote journals. And I asked him what's in there, and he said, well, I've never read them. And I remember 3 days before, you dropped those at my house, and I started reading them. And I entered into the privacy of your father. And that day when you came, you asked me what was in there. Instead of staying 20 minutes, you stayed 5 hours, and we started something on that day. And I know it was not planned in any way, but for you, I see a turn in the way you approach maybe your past at that moment, or certain things of your life on that day, trying to, for the first time, look back, because I felt you walked in that studio many times, but you had never opened a drawer before, you never really looked deeply. What do you think happened at that moment that made you say, okay, maybe I should start looking in those journals, I should start looking?
Here, there's an echo in here, so I'm trying to...
All right.
Well, say that again?
But the journals of your father,
yeah.
What made you like want to start looking into them at that moment, where you had them for all your life and you've never...
When we were up in the studio?
Yes.
Well, I just started looking at them, but I wasn't ready to read them. I wasn't sure when I would or if I would, but at that time we were there. I think I was reading them because we were there, so starting at least. But that was, and just for what we were doing. It wasn't to really get into them and go through them properly, just to start reading them.
And you feel, as we went through that project, we started looking at your mother's letters also.
Yes, yes.
And a lot of things that you had never looked before, but you kept preciously. If I speak lower, do you hear me better?
It's just the echo.
No, it's the echo.
Yeah, forgive me.
I'll try like this.
So, yeah.
And your mother's letters also.
Yes.
You had never opened those boxes before.
I had not. No, I hadn't read them.
Why do you think there's a moment in life? Is that age? Is that time? Is that for your children? What was the moment that said, okay, maybe now it's a moment to look back at things?
Well, I did, but I was looking at them because we were there, and that was what we were supposed to do. It wasn't the time that I would have picked. But maybe I would just have kept avoiding it, so that was the time that we started.
This is your son Elliot painting in your father's studio, and So in this project, and actually you see me with my son in there also, just for people to understand, because we're going to show you the first images of what we've been shooting these last 3 years, and we don't know where we're going. This is not finished at all. We might be going in it for many, many years. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
I don't want it to have any dates of ending.
Well, I was saying to JR, if we can do it where we don't have to worry about having a deadline, because this kind of thing would go on. I've done that I did another documentary about my father, but it was an HBO, and it was a certain amount of time, and that was it. It had to be out at a certain point. I started it without being connected to HBO, and I just did it on my own because I knew I had to start doing this. But this time with us, I felt it should be something more than that, and we don't know where it'll go. It'll go here, it'll go there, and that takes time and periods where maybe nothing happens, and then you come back to it. It gestates, whatever, who knows, but whatever's gonna come into the world at that time, the situation, whatever, any unexpected thing. So to me, it's more important to just keep going until one day it feels, well, okay, now we've told enough. We can, and in the process, working on it, as you work on it, and you edit it, play with it, and so on, you say, well, maybe we should do this. And if you don't have the time to do those kinds of things, especially in movies where the film, it costs more. It's not just an artist with a paint and some paintbrushes. It's pencils. It's a different medium that's expensive. So we need the money to help us pay for this and not worry about when it would come out.
There's a lot of insecurity in this project, in our process. There's days we go and we don't know exactly what we're going to shoot.
Right.
And, like today and last night, there was a lot of images of your career. You've worked with some of the greatest directors. And sometimes I have to laugh at myself when I don't know, that's a photo of your parents, that's one scene. But like on a lot of the scenes that suddenly I think of something just to give you a context, and I'm like, oh, we should try and shoot this. But I'm not sure if it's gonna work, or sometimes it's, pretty heavy. And it started with your father, but then we went way further, and we started talking about your mother, and we started looking at your past and the wounds, often things that no one really wants to look at. Why do you follow this process of the unknown, even if there's often risk of failure? We don't often find the recipe, but we keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, yeah.
By the way, that's what I have to deal with, just so that I have witnesses here on films, during interviews, when we shoot, hoping I can get more than 3 words. So, it's a thing. I laughed at him. I told him that the person who would be translating might be only translating 3 words, Yeah, great, yeah, maybe, But I think because it'd be easier to talk about it if we show something. Maybe we should show that little teaser now. And Bob have seen a version of it, but not the latest one. So we'll sit with you guys and watch it, and then we'll come back here, and then we'll speak a bit more, and then we'll open it to question also. But I think it's the first time for us showing it. You have to understand also, we're doing it as we creating it. So we also in the research. So we're sharing this as artists in the quest of search, not as artists who come with an answer. So I think the technique is going to put it up, and if you want, we can sit right there.
Well,
And I think.
should we leave this?
Yes. Those are the notebooks you let me read, you know. You haven't, right, David?
I haven't read it, no.
Bobby says I'm not his father. Our morals don't agree. I love his hair fuzzy as a caterpillar. He looks but doesn't think like me.
Well, sometimes he was preoccupied with himself and his own world and what he would do. He was an artist, but a different kind of artist. That was not his scene. The only thing that I was always concerned about is that people would be interested in him because of me. So right over here, the first time I was ever on a Vespa, we pulled either from over here, right on the right, and I think right here, my friend, I was in the back like this, and I fell back, fell right off. My mother's loft was in this building up here. That's where my father died.
From what I understood from his journal, he said that he's only been married twice. Once to Virginia Niro, and that's your mother, another time to Paul George Mary Dio. Paul was 14 years old younger than your father. He had been seen in front of the house where they were living, and he was pouring some liquid on his head.
Bob, it's Marty.
Yeah,
Hi. That's a picture of your father.
yeah.
That's wild. I don't know, you're going through all this stuff about the past, right? I mean,
Yeah.
or at least somehow through images, you're thinking about your father, the past.
Yeah.
I guess not a stupid question, but why now?
Well, it's a dream. It's surreal. Look, you decide when you're done. So, here we're going to sign it of you.
You think a dream is any different from the reality?
Sometimes reality is a dream.
So do you know why we're doing this film yet or not yet?
We're doing it because we're kind of seeing where we're going. I don't know where we'll go. There's no time limit as far as I'm concerned. You just do it, and wherever it arrives or winds up, that's okay.
Have you done any process like that before?
No. Oh God! Look at me.
A bear! Nice. A family?
Oh yes. Yes, I am. Yes, sir. Yes, I am.
Mi chiamo Vito Cole, mi chiamo Vito Cole.
Wave to the camera, Mom.
Oh,
That's it. Okay. We'll go places that I don't know, and maybe I don't like where it goes. But ultimately, it would be something that only time can make it more special. It's not essential that I see the final thing.
And are you afraid of death?
I don't have a choice, so you might as well not be afraid of it. I should have spent more time with him, visited him here and stuff. But maybe part of me just didn't want to be around him if he's unhappy. You know, kids, they want to get out and live life, experience things for themselves. And they don't want to be reminded about the negative stuff.
You know, we have quite some years of difference, and I feel, as I'm seeing you looking back, it's almost like if it's the same circling repeat. There's things we know as a kid, or when you're younger, you want to ask your parents and you don't, and then one day it's too late and you can't anymore. Is it something that you feel often, those regrets of the questions you couldn't ask your parents, or the answers you couldn't get?
Yeah, sure. Things I should have done with my mother and my father that I wish I had done. But when I was younger, I was just all over the place. So my mother was trying to get me to listen to some stories she'd tell me about family and this and that. But I wasn't just interested, so it was hard. Not till later did I realize, you know, here's something here, is that?
Yeah, so basically when they translate, I think we're hearing an echo of it for the people who have it, but it's true, we hear it. Yeah, we hear it in the screen. It's just some more French for you.
Yeah.
Are you doing this for yourself to find things, or are you doing it for your children?
I'm doing it for everything, for all of those reasons, and some I don't even know yet. You know, just we're doing it, going through this process that we'll see.
Would you say it's a painful process? You're not always happy that I'm calling you to shoot.
Well, it's annoying sometimes. And I don't want to do it, but I know that I have to, so we do it. We set times up and we do it. But you never know what you're going to get. I mean, what I saw now, there's a lot of nice stuff in it. So that's it. And there are things that, I think other things you did too that you don't have it. But I'm not expecting anything. You're doing it, so wherever it goes.
I know, but you know how we know each other for so long. I'm doing this with you.
Yes.
So it's a common choice on things. Maybe sometimes I say, yes, carry your father in the mountains, and you might say, well, I don't know if it's a good idea to carry the body of my father like that, but I'll try and we'll see if we use it. So you, just for people, nothing is done in VFX. Like when you see him on the water on a barge, he's on the water on a barge for hours. When he's, we did everything and we went and we just did it. When we put her mother underwater, we really took a giant image and put it underwater and then took it out after. So we're not doing it the easy way. Now, I feel at the beginning it was easier because we were just starting the search. Now the deeper we go, the more it's painful because of course you start looking at some wounds of your childhood, of some wounds of unanswered question. And I remember one day you said, you have to push me. Even if I don't want to do it, even if I'm moody, you have to push me. And sometimes it's hard to push you, but but you filmed all your life and you kept those footage. And even a lot of those footage I've used only a little bit here, but you have hundreds of hours of tapes that no one have ever seen.
Yeah.
What were you filming at the time for?
Just to have it, to have it, posterity, have it. You never know what it's going to. And of course, I want to see it one day, hopefully. And there, where you've been finding stuff in my archives and then showing it, it's been great. It got me started. I showed some of the other kids some of the stuff. They were happy to see it, wanted to see it.
What I'm trying to understand, maybe there's no, I guess that's the journey of life. We're in a quest of something, but we might never find the answer. And I think that's all of our journey in life. Yet, I feel there's something, especially, there was this one day, if I go to the next image here, where we were looking at your father paintings, and then at some point we realized it was not your father's paintings, it was your mother.
Yeah.
And that day it opened a whole page where we realized that your mother was this incredible painter that at some point had to stop her career to, help you and your father. And then when we read the letters, we realized also how much she was, back and forth with you constantly as you were growing up to, help you through beginning of your careers. Was that something that you had forgotten, or you always remembered precisely how things went?
Had forgotten, you mean?
About how much your mother was helpful for you as you.
No,
as you
no, not at all. You mean as far as putting it in what we're doing, or?
Well, the first 2 years we couldn't really talk about her.
It wasn't intentional. It was just that we were doing stuff about my father, and the time that we were focusing on that, and this eventually unraveled, which was great. I was very happy to find that her works, more of them, because I was thinking I want to have a show one day of her stuff.
In those letters, so Bob have kept every letter he ever wrote to his mother, and the mother she wrote back to the letters she wrote back to him. So you can also see over the years him as a young actor, or traveling and just needed money to travel or find a book or something, and then slowly playing into small. How do you call those theaters on the side of the road where you would stay and play the piece? I forgot the names. Where you started doing theater when you were younger.
You mean well, I did travel, going to with a traveling group of actors. We do a play and do it in high schools and schools and stuff like that.
And after that, there was something where you stay and I remember a little where your mother was like, I hope one day, because you were about to be on the radio, and she said, I hope one day we'll hear your name in the radio.
I think I was doing what you call a dinner theater,
yes.
Which is it's in a dry, it was at that time a dry state in the South, like the Carolinas. And so what you call brown bag it. The theater was in the round, and the stage, the green room was upstairs and not where the actors lived. And it would drop down, and the people would be eating in tiers like this, eating at tables. They'd have dinner, the actors would serve them, they'd bring their own booze. And then once that was all done, and the desserts were served, cleaned up everything, they sat and watched the show. We went back up, and then came down and did the play for them. So she was referring to that.
Yeah. I read also a lot in the journals of how your name erased your father's name, because as you became famous and you had the same name, slowly, he was in your shadow. Is that something that you realized while doing this, that it's a way for him to keep his artworks alive, that you're doing this? Is that part of the motivations? Because if not, he might be forgotten when,
Yeah, well, I wanted it remembered. That's why I would take the family over, the kids, everybody, and family members and some friends over to the studio so they could see it. And then I filmed everything, wanted them to see it, filmed them in the studio. I wanted to document as much as I could and make them aware for later, especially what their grandfather did. And then we started doing the documentary, and that kind of evolved. Well, not evolved, but where it became something that HBO was interested in, and so I did it with them. And it was a worthy project, and I'm glad that we did it. So it's all for them, all for family, so they can see what their grandfather did. It's important, because it's just very important. And their grandmother too, but she was not doing it as much as he was, so I guess I didn't focus on doing what he was totally 100% committed for most of his life, being an artist, since he was a little kid.
Do you think now you're seeing the same thing? I remember this conversation we filmed with you and your daughter, Helene, and you were trying to explain to her that at some point in her life she regret not asking questions. But of course now she can't realize that. And you told her that the past goes fast, and you said, now you're just thinking of course your life, and it's normal, but every of those moments are very important. Is that something we cannot beat time, and a certain generation don't understand it and they only get it when it's too late?
So what you were saying with Helen, she said?
Yes, we were in your father's studio, and she was just, listening to you, sharing about your memories.
Yeah.
And she was kind of like, and as kids do. And do you think of sometime of ways so that you could communicate those things so that they?
I don't know. That's why later the kids would appreciate it when they're older and get a better sense of what life is. And so then they say, oh yeah, I'm glad we have this. It's like I showed the stuff that you gave me the other day that I'd shot but never looked at when they were very young, and they were very happy to see that stuff, my kids. They were happy, and I said, there it is. I don't know when we'll look at it, when it'll come out, but it'll come out, and it's there forever. And it's important for them to have that, all of us.
But this journey we're doing this film that eventually we'll share one day, it might be in 5 years, in 10 years, who knows? And
yeah.
We don't even know which format.
Right.
Was that the best process for you to go through this?
I don't know, it just made the most sense to me. to do it like that. That's how I like to do it. If you have certain things, you make the time to let it sink in, go on, stop, come back later. There's something to that. And you don't see that often because people have deadlines and they've got to finish and they've got to do it a certain amount of time. There are people who have done it. I've seen them getting a director, Michael Apted, I think, who did a thing about a British family growing up and so on. That's a different type of thing. But, and it was a well-known project. This is the way it makes most sense to me. You know, at my age and stage of life, that makes the most sense. So once I'm not even around, he's just going to be shooting on and on, ever asking me questions when I'm in my coffin, and it's just going to keep going and going. I don't know when.
Just so you know, that's not my wish. I want to do this film with him and be here one day and look at it together. Because as you know, I love the process and I don't mind for it to go for decades. And I hope we go for decades because there's something to it where you have to understand and as you can imagine, the way when you shoot on movies, there's a whole thing, a whole protocol before a scene happens and this, and I know there's a lot of team, and we work as a very small team, like almost like a film student, you know, and suddenly we just call him and say, we had this idea, we're gonna put you in a little barge, and we're gonna, you know, someone's just gonna push you on the water, and we're gonna try to shoot that, and we're gonna do it 20 times until we see if it looks good on camera. And he really comes in his car, he drives himself, and he's like, where should I go? We say, well, we just got that on Craigslist, you know, and we have it for 4 hours, so just go in it, and, you know, and we'll leave you in the middle of the water, and we'll see. And that process, and a lot of your friends also have been helping in this film. We see Marty here, but, you know, Leo, Sean Penn, many people have came and gave time. A lot of also technicians of cinema who remember working with you, who said, oh, we'll give you a hand for that shot. I think there's something beautiful in you looking back for the first time at your life, at something that is more personal, to see all the people that you have seen, you know, along the way, who comes and give a hand. And it's not just me who's doing this. We like a group of people, your family, Tiffany, your wife, your kids are in there also. They're all helping to make this, even if none of us know where we're going.
Yeah, exactly.
But I have I can let you imagine the long days of shoot we have sometimes, and where we get two words. But I don't want to change that because I know, you know, your craft is in silence. You say so much more. But sometimes I know you have the key of where we're going, and I wonder if you actually know where we're going. You know, because we keep discovering stuff as we go. But I'm like, why did I discover those hundreds of hours of footage only 6 months ago, where you had them for 60 years? Is it just things that you forget, you put in boxes and you never look
No, I have it there, you know, it's there, I know it's there, so, and eventually it'll come out. In our project, for example, it is.
Last time we sat in New York to look at some footage and you were filming your kids at the pool and you know, you filmed them for, you know, maybe an hour or 2 hours. And you wanted to watch each single frame. You didn't want it to stop. But if we wanted to look at everything, you wouldn't even, you know, it would take you years to look
I
at
know.
things.
I know.
And you ready for that?
No. Well, I don't know. I mean, I do want to do it. I just have to make the time. But at least we're doing this.
I feel in this, you're doing it in the most, like, there's never any makeup. It's just you.
Yeah.
And I'll say you never asked to, you say keep shooting and whatever, like you trust the process. I heard you on stage once said, with Quentin Tarantino in Tribeca, you told him, when I start something, I never leave. And I will never leave a project. So Is this also worse for this one? You're not going to leave this project at any time?
No, I mean, that's the whole point. You know, keep doing, and who knows where it's going to go. Yeah, I mean, we just keep doing it unless we feel at a certain point we're at a thing or whatever happens with life and whatever happens, where certain things that are out of our control make us have to come to a conclusion or come to wind it down. But at this point, I don't see that.